Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday. For those who are new to the channel, I just want to say welcome. Let's just get into the video. So, last week I wanted to record this video, and for whatever reason, I just could not get the words out at all. I do think it had a lot to do with the topic that I'm going to talk about, and I basically just had my own version of vlogger's block. And so today I'm just kind of here to really be open and honest and raw about this particular topic, because I think we all could really identify with what I'm about to talk about. So I wanted to talk about 2020 and how it impacted my life. Like everyone else, 2020 was just a horrible year. So much bullshit happened. People lost loved ones, friends, family, significant others. People lost businesses. A lot happened in 2020 that was just fucking shitty. And in 2021, we're still trying to recover from that, obviously. But also, with this pandemic, it has opened up a lot of doors and some opportunities. And I do want to discuss that. I do want to talk about that. So let's take it back to the beginning. January 2020, I had flew to New York to go see my grandmother, who I called my mom. And she had a stroke and had fallen ill, and the facility that she was in before the one that I went to just really did not take care of her at all, to the point where she ended up getting a blood infection and had to get dialysis. And, at her age, that just was not good for her at all. When I came to see her and I just saw her, it was very hard for me to see her that way. And I kind of realized that she probably didn't have a lot of time left. I just didn't know how much time, but I realized she didn't have a lot of time left. And so when I left, before I left, I did promise her that I was going to move back to New York. I was going to spend some time with her. And, I personally wanted to make sure that I was able to say goodbye. And I know that's hard to wrap your mind around, to just know that someone that you love isn't going to be here anymore, and you just want to have as much time as you can to be able to say goodbye and have peace with that. So that happened for me. And when I flew back, I did tell my partner that this is what I was planning on doing. I wanted to resign from my job in March and fly back to New York, get a job probably in like April, and then have my partner out there by May or June. This was the plan initially. Well, the pandemic robbed me of that. In March, we were told that we had to do a stay-at-home order. So, with the stay-at-home order, obviously, we couldn't go to work, we couldn't travel, we couldn't really do too much. And around that time, New York had become the epicenter. There were so many just deaths upon deaths, and people getting sick and being in a hospital. Like, the hospital had no room. Like, it was crazy. So obviously at that point I knew, okay, well, I can't do this now. And, I don't want to leave my partner hanging, during the midst of a pandemic by himself. And even then, if I had tried to fly to New York, I realized I wasn't going to be able to do anything. I would have been stuck at home. So there was that. April came, and my partner's birthday is on the 17th. And of course, that was just not really enjoyable, because who wants to celebrate their birthday, indoors during a pandemic? It just completely will ruin it, right? 2 days after my partner's birthday, I get a call that my mom had passed. And, basically, like, my fears had came true. I did not want to be in California to get a call like that. It's just not something that I wanted to hear. And even though in my heart I knew that this day would come, I just was hoping to have more time with her. And so, with the pandemic just spreading like wildfire, it robbed me of that time to say goodbye to my mom. So after that, I kind of had a lot of guilt. There was just a lot of guilt associated with that. I felt like, damn, I should have left earlier. I should have did this. I should have did that. Like, all these shoulda, woulda, couldas came in. And, now in hindsight, looking back, it wouldn't have made a difference. With New York, any sort of facility where the elderly were being cared for, they weren't allowing any visitors. So even if I was in New York, I wouldn't have been able to spend time with her anyway, because they weren't allowing any visitors. So there was that. My birthday came. I just really couldn't even enjoy my birthday. In June, I just couldn't enjoy it, really. And I just, and by that time, I was already back to work. There was just a lot of organizational bullshit with that job that I just couldn't stomach anymore. I couldn't put up with anymore. I just realized that, okay, you know what, this is not it. And at some point, I'm going to leave this job this year. I just couldn't figure out when. I would have to say the universe and God has so many ways of just showing you what you need to see when it's time for you to see it. And a lot had went on. Just knowing that where I worked, there was a lot of cases of COVID. We weren't even made aware of it. My staff and I was not made aware of this. We knew it was a possibility, but where I worked at Seaport Village in San Diego. And we all know that if you either live in San Diego or if you've gone there to visit, that Seaport Village is a destination location where a lot of people come, and it's beautiful there. But so many people were flying over there to San Diego because they were still, I guess, we weren't really 100% shut down like we should have been. People were flying in from Northern California, like they were coming down. And those areas where these people were coming from, to be honest with you, were areas where they were trying to ban wearing masks. So there was that. I had people flying in from Arizona, and Arizona had high cases of COVID. People were flying in from Georgia, Florida. Like, it was just craziness. It was craziness. And then I had to deal with customers giving me attitude about the fact that they have to keep their mask on. It got to the point where I said, fuck it, I'm not about to be polite anymore. I just lost my mom, not because of COVID. She didn't die from that. Well, thank God that she didn't, because nobody with the stuff that I've seen online with COVID and what these people who died, what they have gone through in their last moments, I would not wish that on anybody. So the fact that my mom did not pass from COVID, there was some comfort in that. Like, I wasn't happy that she was gone, but to go out like that, I don't wish that on anybody, okay? But I had to, I had just dealt with that. And then, I have a partner at home who's a diabetic. He's a big dude, and so he's at high risk of being someone who can be more likely to catch COVID. And I don't get sick often, but I was afraid that I could be asymptomatic and bring that home and make my partner sick. I didn't want that. And I had to deal with customers every day giving me attitude and complaining that they feel inconvenienced because they have to wear a mask. Like, no. August came and I just said I was done. I was done with it. I had spoke to my partner. I said, look, We've been talking about moving back to New York. I know there's some things that has happened that has prevented us from doing that. I said, but I'm just not doing this. I said, I'm not staying at this job. I don't feel safe here. I don't want to put myself at risk, and I damn sure don't want to put yourself at risk. I said, and I'm not trying to look for another job out here. I said, September, I will be flying to New York. You will stay here to hold the fort down and finish out the lease, because we still had some time left on the lease of where we were staying at. And I will set things up there to fly you over by the new year. And that's basically what happened. September, I flew back to New York. I stayed with my brother, and I just, I had to quarantine obviously for 2 weeks, and I was just applying for jobs and just, I was just grinding, trying to find something because, I was on a time constraint. I didn't have time to frolic. Yes, I wanted to catch up with people and, and spend some time with friends and family and stuff like that. But I really came back with a mission, and I would have to say, I did that. 29 days later, I got offered the job that I have now. Then I would say about a month or two after, I was trying to look for apartments, and my brother was trying to set me up with the place, but that kind of fell through. And then my good friend had got offered an apartment in the Bronx, and relatively it would have been cheaper and more affordable for him and his girlfriend. And but the problem was he couldn't break the lease in the apartment that he was in, because they would have been responsible for paying an entire year out of the lease, and they couldn't afford that. So what ended up happening is I ended up subletting the apartment for them to be able to move out, and my partner and I can stay in the apartment that we're in now just for a year. And that came through. I would have to say, coming back to New York and finding a job in 29 days during a pandemic where businesses closed and people lost their jobs and people are on unemployment, and some of them not even getting their money, like they're still waiting, like to find a job within 29 days, it almost seemed like to me that my mom was looking out for me. The universe was looking out for me. This apartment that we ended up staying in for a year, after trying to look for apartments and being told, well, salary-wise, you don't make enough, so you need a co-signer. And come on, in this climate, who is going to co-sign for an apartment during a pandemic where people's money is not guaranteed? Opportunities are not guaranteed. It was just like, I just couldn't catch a break. But I feel like, my spirit guides, I feel like the universe, I feel like my mom was really looking out for me. And a lot of great things happened towards the end of 2020 for me. A lot of good things. And I was able to get my partner here in January. He was also stressed out, and look, to be away from your partner for a few months and doing the whole long distance relationship thing, it's not easy for everybody. It's really not. And I think my partner at the time, he had some apprehension, on that, but he was still willing to support. But, even with that, it wasn't easy because he's dealing with a pandemic by himself in the apartment in San Diego. I mean, of course, we had our babies there. We have 2 budgies, and, they kept him company, obviously, but it was just a lot of tests, a lot of mental tests, emotional tests, spiritual tests that was just thrown at me. I have to say, it's just led up to where I am now, a whole year later, where I'm just in a space where I look at life differently now. I look at life so differently now. Time is something that I am very passionate about. I'm very time driven now. I used to be really driven by money. And I realized through my mom's passing and just with how things has happened in a span of a year, that's not the life that I want to live anymore. You know, I want to be in charge of my own time. You know, I want to thrive in life. I want to thrive in love. And chasing money, I can achieve that doing it. I realize that I have to make, changes in my life. And I'm working on those changes slowly but surely. But 2020 really it made me realize that you have to shift. Gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to be grateful for everything that you have because tomorrow is not promised. I'm so grateful with everything that I have. I'm able to love, have people in my life that I care about and they care about me. Every day that I wake up in the morning, I'm just grateful. And I just want to continue living my life in gratitude. 2020 really did a number on me, but it's also provided me a really great gift, I would have to say, knowing of how I want to maneuver in my life. Please share your experiences of what 2020 was like for you. I do believe that as fucked up 2020 was for all of us, it's opened some doors for a lot of us. Yeah, businesses have closed down, but a lot of new businesses have opened. Current businesses that were able to stay open were able to thrive in the way where, people can work remotely and work online and be able to stay in the comfort of their own home. All I can say is thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.